There we go.
All right, ready? Call to order at 7:05. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm assuming everybody had a chance to read last month's meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes. Someone wants to second it? All those in favor? Any opposed? No. So moved. All right. Any additions to the agenda?
Nope.
All right. Public comment? Ma'am?
All's good.
All right. All right. Presentations?
None this evening.
All right. And we move right into staff reports. Take it away, Ryan.
So I just want to kind of prepare a little bit for what we've done so far and what's upcoming, since we do not have a July Park and Rec board meeting. So it'll be 2 months until we meet again. So to give an overview of where we're at. All of our Little Athletics summer session 1 and 2 classes through August are full, all 6 different sessions, and that is children ages 2 through 6 in multi-sports. So basketball, soccer, whatever other sports Christina does with the Little Athletics, but all 6 groups are maxed out at 8 participants per session. So that's a good thing. Our tennis lessons that we do over at Brookside Country Club, we're over the 60 person mark. So we have a good turnout for that program. Beginner pickleball is up to 45. I have a running tally here of Mighty Kicks, since we do that almost year round, as much as we can. And we're over 100 there. Our CIT and summer camp program, like I said a couple months ago, we are full. CITs, we have 1 or 2 spots, but overall 2 of the sites are filled already. We started this past week, and then all of the camper spots have been filled. Going to jump over to the field trips real quick. I know it's lower in the report, but just to give you a snapshot, this year was the first year we were planning bus field trips as an add-on, trying 30 campers per site as a maximum, not really going too far, too deep, too fast, just seeing what the want and need would be. Give you an idea of the 5 trips. One is the Crayola Factory in Easton, Da Vinci Science Center in downtown Allentown, Hampton Bowling Lanes in Northampton, Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs over in Allentown, and a day in the Lehigh Parkway, also in Allentown, with the Little Lehigh Fish Hatchery, the Native American Museum, and horse stable, Boots and Saddles horse stable. That gives you kind of which ones are the most popular. Obviously, Crayola Factory and Da Vinci are kind of up there, and we're at 2 of them almost full. So it's a good start for us. We're very happy with the response to that, and you can kind of see we got more bowlers at Veterans than Fogelsville, but see what the interest is and expand upon. Zumba outdoor session, we are going to be doing over at Lone Lane Park, and we are at 27 out of 45 participants for that class. So that should be starting next week, and we'll probably get close to that filled number between now and next week. Also, this past Friday, we had an event without rain. Movie in the park over at Ricky Park on Friday the 13th, Moana 2. We had a couple of food trucks, various inflatable vendors. We had Deb handing out things at our Park and Rec tent, some Lays to give away. And we're estimating somewhere between 300 and 400 participants at that event. That's a movie in the park. We haven't done much activity there, organized activity there in the past couple of years, to my understanding. And that was a fantastic turnout to bring a return of activity to that location. It was the hill, being aware of Ricky Park, kind of goes up the hill and comes down towards the pavilion, where we were able to put the movie screen in the lower corner so you could sit along the hill and watch the movie, which I think was a good draw and a great location that Emily and Jim planned out for that park. Obviously, that park gets a little wet with some of the water runoff, so we wanted to make sure we weren't tearing up turf or anything like that as well. So great turnout for that movie. Now we turn to the next running list of events for the next 2 months. Our Grub and Groove at Grange every Thursday from 5 to 8. Tonight we got hit with a little bit of a thunderstorm, so a little lower than normal. But we're adding music monthly to that. and our truck base is growing. Next week we have about 18 committed trucks. Tonight we are at about 12, so it is growing through as the summer progresses. It's a great add-on, very minimal staff interaction or cost or a heavy lift from us. It's put out a barricade to make sure no one parks in the parking lot and line the trucks up and have a good time. Everyone we've talked to is gone, has been very thrilled with it. We've added the events to Facebook. We've shared on the website. We're giving the list of trucks for them to expand their following and push it out to those who follow the food trucks as well. And we're going to watch it grow. It's very exciting. Our next concert in the park over at Grange Park is Saturday, June 28th with a summer sizzle theme. It's kind of a blues-ish theme to the two acts that we have going on. One is a major East Coast act for blues, a lot of award-winning in the Middle Atlantic region. The other is a more local band, kind of a funk, if you will, band. That's a good opener. I had the honor of listening to them last year in the concert series I did over in Allentown, and they had a good following. We're adding vendors. We have multiple food trucks. The beverage vendors and our sponsor vendors will be lining up to make that a great activity, including the Da Vinci Science Center coming out with a kind of interactive science experiment for kids and families as well. Next movie in the park is July 11th, Superhero Night. We're going to be showing Dogman at 5:30 over at Lone Lane Park. Then another concert on July 26th with a Salute to Service theme at Grange Park. And then because it does fall before our meeting and announced on the Upper McCutcheon Township Police Department's Facebook page today, the 2025 edition of National Night Out is from 5 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, August 5th. And then we have another movie at Earl Adams Memorial Park on Friday, August 8th. It's a safari party, and we're showing Zootopia. So as you can see, we're balancing some of the larger scale items over at Grange Park, and then some of the smaller scale, more manageable items rotating around the various park facilities throughout the township. General updates, newsletter comparisons. We're doing our monthly e-newsletter. This would be the 6th month that we've been doing it. Every month we focus on the upcoming programs, maybe a park rule or regulation or just a reminder about something, and upcoming items in the township. We're up about 23 subscribers. People are opening it more. We have less links and programs to click on, so we're a little lighter there, but it's a great avenue to stay engaged rather than just a biannual newsletter, which I did not put on here, but we are starting our outreach for the fall winter edition to be ready to go to get that in the households sometime in late August, the first week of September. The comprehensive park rec open space plan that everyone here was involved in is just about at the finish line. Since I'm an Eagles fan, I made the tush push joke right there to the finish line. They presented in front of the Planning Commission yesterday, and the final plan presentation to be put in front of the Board of Supervisors on July 3rd. Community Lifestyle Center. If you've driven by Grange recently, definitely a lot of movement, a lot of vertical movement, roofing, block walling is also going vertical as well as you get closer to see underneath. So the building currently being worked on is the turf field building. We are also doing hard hat tours for select groups. So I'm just putting it out there for the board. If you would like me to work with you to schedule a Park and Rec board tour over there, we can make that happen. That's everything.
That was also the recent event you briefed as well.
Yep. A recent event just with the movie in the park. We also had a concert scheduled in May that we did get rained out due to the weather. May has been a very tough month for anything outdoors, but we are working on rescheduling that so it's not a lost opportunity. And with the movie, what I think was great is for having 300 to 400 people in that park location, you saw a balance of half the parking lot was used for food trucks and pieces of the event. So even at Ricky, that probably has about 30, 35 parking spaces. You had about half that, and we still had about 400 people. There were no traffic issues or concerns that I was aware of or reported on. Emily was on site for the movie, and a lot of the neighborhood came walking and being a part of the event. What was also nice is that we planned to not compete against other big scale events up in that area. St. Joe the Worker Church usually has their church festival, which is this upcoming weekend, not last weekend. So we're not going head to head with other big events in the area for participants to be a part of. I think great positive feedback on being a family night out. The movie company loved the setup. The vendors had a great time. I think everyone was walking around with a cup of island noodles that I heard. So I think it's growing and people are gaining traction to see it's not just a movie. It's more things to do for a full night out. So other than that, I didn't hear anything negative or constructive about it, and people just asking when the next one is.
Awesome. Okay. Moving on to old business, design standards discussion.
So we started the conversation last month, and as we've tied into the comprehensive park rec open space plan, I gave everyone one of the draft recommendations. And again, it's not an adopted park rec open space plan by the Board of Supervisors, but it's something we've had conversations on about park entryway signage and other amenities. And knowing that the one of the recommendations is working with the Park and Rec Board to establish those design standards, I just wanted to put in front of you kind of what that may or possibly could look like when you look at it from a cohesive standpoint. It's not just come up with an entry sign. There are all the other things that go along with it, whether it's park benches, trash cans, picnic tables, the type of pavilion or shade structure you'd want to potentially implement, or, the thought process behind the playground. A playground could be a pirate theme, or it could be, more modernistic cubes and ropes. There's so much that can be done, but, you don't want to put a pirate theme in to a playground and then have like a minimalist or futuristic looking park bench. So just kind of to get the wheels turning with the Park and Rec Board on their thoughts of what Upper Macungie parks look like and how those things all tie together. For example, you don't put up all metal pavilions and then put a giant wood structure somewhere. So, or, a line of garbage cans that don't tie into other things. So it was more to be presented as thought-provoking and not, hey, I want this playground or I want this trash can tonight, but how we're looking to approach the recommendations that we've been getting. So don't answer on what garbage can we're going to ask Jim to buy or anything like that tonight, but let's keep it on the radar and have our discussions on, hey, this is where we want to go, or this is what we think is going to make us stand out as Upper Macungie compared to, a Lehigh Parkway or another park we go to somewhere else. Or say you go to South Whitehall and they have a line of picnic tables or the way they do pavilions. Maybe we want to stand out and be different, or hey, that really works and we think it fits with those who are using our parks. Just really more a brainstorm at this point.
We also have to keep in mind what's already there.
Yeah, correct.
That in the pavilions, we're not gonna totally
Tear down. No.
Right, so we have to make sure it's something
Sure.
that goes with them. And then,
This kind of I thought it from the perspective of to help with me and guidance for me as we plan things out.
Gotcha. Okay.
So take it home, think about it, ask me questions later on.
Do you have some thoughts as to what is up there? Over time? Material-wise?
Each company is going to tell you they're the best product.
Of course, but
I think-
even from your experience.
I think it also comes down to users, how it's being used, where it's being used. I've seen some plastic coated tables that have burn holes in them, or wood tables that warp. So I think it's more of gearing, and in looking at all this is 4 pages of pictures. I could have probably given you 300. So kind of narrowing down the scope of what should Upper Macungie park amenities be like, and then going from there to that next step. So that far of getting my recommendation on what the best product is, there's too much to dive through to say go with this one. But I wanted to start down that conversation. And I'm also going to try to see, we have a chat here. Hope I don't.
For a Lone Lane Park, I think those ones look good.
Okay.
The ones on the end.
Sure.
Would you think that you want to keep it uniform between parks, or make one look per park, uniform within parks?
I think as we look at some of these future recommendations that may come out of this comprehensive plan, if we go to a point that we have to master plan a location, like for example, Lone Lane is one we've recommended, this design piece comes into how you're building from that master plan.
Mhm.
So I think each park may have a little bit of its own uniqueness, but maybe it is every memorial bench is consistent, every picnic table is consistent, and we work off of that. It's just-
And some of this, I mean, like the stuff at, Mining Park, that's really like fading and needs to be upgraded.
And that playground, to my knowledge, is 25 or 26 years old.
Yeah.
So that is one we actually in the last fall had put in a grant application for that we're waiting to hear back on for a replacement of that playground equipment. Expensive,
Yeah.
expensive too. So
Yeah.
Any other discussion? No? All right, the good stuff. The reason why I showed up. Mobile food vending in parks.
So we've had some discussions last month, and taking a look at our park and recreation for chapter 16 of our ordinances, looking at how we can approach mobile food vending specifically in park locations. That overall in the township is probably better suited for other areas of our ordinances. This is just specific to in our parks. We've seen some challenges recently of a couple of things. We're seeing, number one, pavilion renters are more and more using food trucks for catering of an event. Maybe they don't want to be standing at the grill the entire time, but they're going to reach out to Grub Night Food Truck for just their event. That Grub Night's not publicly selling their private catering for a pavilion rental. Or we have events like Grub at the Grange, where we have 18 food trucks next week who have been invited to an event that we are running and has a registration fee involved with it. When a non-invited vendor shows up in one of those locations, we want to make sure we have the mechanism in place to address it. I've noticed not only in one event, but in a couple, there's one or two who are where they shouldn't be. So what this is a draft of what I've been able to come up with after researching other townships, City of Allentown, Salisbury Township, and a couple others of how they approach it. The main pieces of what I would propose is, number one, a permit is needed. Number two, an application process that may or may not include a fee. And then regulations on when and where. We look at our park system, but it may be that Caybrook Green Hills Park is not a suitable park location to allow mobile food vending. It might be, it should be restricted to Grange, Lone Lane, and Upper Makanji or Route 100. I don't know. So this is just a bones of what it can look like, and for feedback if I'm in the right direction, not in the right direction, and it would obviously have to go through the formal ordinance process that the township follows for the way we adjust ordinances. The last piece of it is enforcement and making sure we include what the enforcement capability is. One area of note on restrictions that I found in a couple other places, and this was more specific to ice cream trucks in particular. The state does have an ice cream truck safety law, and it outlines certain things that an ice cream truck is to have.
Just an ice cream truck?
Just an ice cream truck. So, for example, some of them that are classified as food trucks don't have the same things, but an ice cream truck that would be going around on streets, roving, going a block and stopping. There's certain requirements that are apparently out there for an ice cream
It's not a food
truck safety. If it was, there's certain things that need to be on it, like stop signs, flashing lights, safety bars, a bunch of things.
None of that.
So-
Food truck.
I will also say to specific situations that the board has mentioned to me and that we've observed ourselves. In one particular situation, our police department is aware of it and is actively engaging.
I appreciate that. It's a good step. I think we should look at it because this involves safety.
Right.
Like not random people just buying their car or a school bus and just show up their cars. You know.
And I will say, specific to our township run event for Grubbock Grange, we've asked those questions of those who are there. They've gone through, and I know several of them personally. They're legit. They wouldn't be coming out. They've supplied or could supply whatever I asked for to ensure that they are legit businesses that are here in the township and doing business with us. Another thing with the ice cream truck safety law that I saw is whether it's a health license or a business license or whatever license governs them, it is to be fully identifiable in a window that the public can see. So if you look at pretty much all of them tonight, you can see them in their windows that were at Grubbock Grange. You know they're licensed and legit. Other entities, I don't think I've seen that. So again, it doesn't outline like a dollar amount penalty. It doesn't outline a specific start and end time to an hour of operation. It doesn't give specific park locations. This is just based on the research of what others include in their ordinances that govern mobile food vending in parks. This is a framework. And if I'm on the right direction, I'll continue to flush it out. If I'm not, I'll make changes.
So the only
So aside from trucks showing up that were not invited, were there other problems that precipitated this decision?
I'm going to say safety, because those that have not been invited, when they've been approached that they're not invited, create a hazard in our parks.
So is there anything in regards to where inside the park they can operate? I ask because I've seen an ice cream truck during a non-event. I've seen ice cream trucks because obviously kids are in the playground, all the parking lots or all the parking spots are full, so they'll drive right on the grass to get as close to the playground as possible.
There are some other samples that I saw that did specifically outline where, for example, if you're in a parking lot, only taking up one space, or, if there is an event within a certain number of feet of an event going on or not. So that is something I could add to this and flush out an example of.
So in this,
In the road, so sure, stop it.
it's I saw it firsthand. It's a safety hazard for, especially when I saw it like in the event when we are having the event and this park and this truck comes in and try to take up 3 spots, and kids are running around in the parking lot because we don't want kids to be in the parking lot. We rented the grass area just to make sure that kids at the grass and they play there. But when they see the ice cream truck, they just go over there. It's their kids.
Yep.
We don't want uninvited because you rented the space, but you can't tell them that hey, just get out of the park because park is public park and we don't have any ordinance or anything. I found it out and we can't do anything.
Not just all ordinance.
There's no ordinance.
There's a general provision about sales that is a little vague. So I think this is what I would envision. And again, we're having the conversation. It's not tomorrow this goes into effect. It's not as flushed out as it could be. And I think there's some room for growth within that chapter 16 park rules and regulation ordinances that we can build upon. There's a good start so far, but there's definitely room to improve. And I think this is where I would see this fitting under park and rec rules and regulations, specifically limitations, and then it's spelled out.
Now, what you suggest, I think, I don't know, is Matt saying, like, do you want to take up every section in one meeting? Or you want to do the whole ordinance and you want to decide, like, what should be the fee, what should be the... And I think the guidance should be provided, taking the Lower McKinley Township or Southern Township, and see how much they are charging and for their permits or their fee, so that we can have at least comparable
Yep.
or
And I would just keep in mind that whatever that would be would have to be established in our fee schedule. It would, similar to the fee to rent a pavilion, we'd have to make sure this is included properly into the fee schedule. I've seen anywhere from one-offs as low as $50 to $100 to an annual permit in the range of $500 to $600. The other thing is spelled out here is certificate of insurance. Just like we ask any organized group that is using our facilities, we require standard level of certificate of insurance. That includes us as additionally insured. So that would be a requirement I would recommend that includes for this. I think the other aspect to keep in mind as well of the balance is we've had some mobile food vendors who have become park and rec department sponsors that have paid somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a year this year to be at certain events, to get some recognition from us and be involved. Why would they continue to do that if somebody who doesn't participate or doesn't even acknowledge the township starts driving around the park and is making sales? The long-term effects for us, because I could see Crummett Grange growing the way it is, and I could see a couple of those trucks when we go to do 2026 sponsorships want to jump on board and be a part of it, which for us is a win for all of our events.
All right. So you're looking to have this finalized by our next meeting in September?
We have August, so we can do another draft in August.
We're off July and August.
I thought we were only off July.
get off July.
And August?
Just last July.
I don't know.
They're all down on vacation, Raj.
Does Raj know that?
Not yet.
What I can do is I'm hearing more specific locations within parks to flush out, examples of various application and permit fees to be flushed out. Anything else? And I know you just got this tonight. You're just looking at it.
Well, and like you said, if they do like a sponsorship, I think,
Like an exclusive.
well, like, they should have some benefit for that.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
the current benefits with that is number one, we do various banner size depending on the level of sponsorship they are. So at every one of our bigger events that go out, the sponsored banners that Jim and his team put out, that's one of them. That's a benefit. Number two, advertising the biannual newsletter, advertising the e-newsletter, logos and recognition on the website, and also where we place them within an event. So let's say Gwen's food truck is a high level sponsor and the stage is right across from where I'm going to put Gwen. She is the highest traffic. Jim's slushy service is not a sponsor. They might be further away from where the crowd may be in the event. So when we're making our maps of event spaces, we're accounting for that. Obviously, in 2026, we will also have a community center and a lot of recognition opportunities that may come with that in how we look at sponsorships as a whole. Not a requirement to, we're not saying that you jump the front of the line if you're going to be a sponsor. You're still going to have to go through some of these this process and make sure we're a legit business and a legit mobile operation. But there's the opportunity, and this year we are very fortunate that some did want to be one. It's the first time we've had it.
All right. So will you have something by August then?
Yeah. I can include some of these recommendations, and then what I will also include is to make sure I've never made an ordinance change in Upper McCudgee Township, so I will make sure I relay back to the board what those steps are, so everyone is aware.
Gotcha.
And I would say I echo the board sentiment that above anything else, this is a safety decision in that I watched 12 trucks set up today with minimal supervision without an issue. That's all we're asking for. That park can have thousands of people in it, like Raj mentioned, and you hear a bell, kids run. I've also seen how fast certain cars, trucks, entities drive through that park. It's also a safety concern. So we want to make sure, again, if it's happening in our parks, that we are number one safe. For example, I think part of that ice cream law, and I just read a little bit about it today, it requires background checks the same way we would a youth volunteer coach. So things to think about.
Well, I like that with the food trucks too.
Different. So I'll flush out those differences
Yeah.
on what I'll make sure I get a copy of it and we can show everyone.
Okay. All right. So if you have any more ideas, please send them directly to Ryan. All right. Moving on to new business. One of us is bailing. Yeah.
It might not be the best.
Yeah. When?
Barely.
She's leaving us high and dry
No.
to go be with her grandkids. We do have to vote to accept her resignation. Just so you know, if we don't approve it, she can't leave.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. It's happening.
So I'll make a motion to accept Gwen's resignation effective this is the last meeting.
Yeah.
This is the last meeting for. I'm sorry. I make a motion to accept Gwen's resignation for June 19th, 2025. Is there a second? Oh, there's a second. Oh.
I second it. Sorry, to-
All right. All
sorry
those in favor?
about that, but I second
Well, to
it.
be a member of the board, I have to live in Upper McCungie, and as of August, I won't be living in Upper McCungie, so,
Your house isn't sold yet, though.
no, but, okay.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay. All right, so passed. Any more public comment?
But, similar to that, another issue at the parks, I want you guys to be aware of. We have daycares showing up. And they're there all day. That's a public park, I understand that. But I've asked them already that if the pavilions are rented, we put post-its saying they are rented, and they still show up at these pavilions. So they're messing the pavilions up when people come and pay for them. So it's one of the issues. The other issues are kind of taking over the whole park, the playground stuff. I don't know what the legality of that is to stop them from doing that, but their parents are paying those company to watch their kids.
Right.
They're bringing them to the park all day. So they're using our facilities and then busting by there.
Do you know if they're
I don't know.
Daycare's in the township or-
Look into that.
all right? So I did see that before. I thought they were
They've been there every day this week. They're here Monday, Tuesday, whatever.
at Lone Lane. At Lone Lane or Grange?
They've been at Grange, I think they're outside Long Lane.
Okay.
They, and Barnesville, they rotate through all parks, and they're one of the parks every day.
Is it the same daycare?
It seems to be.
So similar to, we were alerted to a group, an organized group using field space a couple weeks ago at Lone Lane. I can't say I can guarantee I can do this all the time, but I got in the truck and drove over with a business card. And here we found out it was a homeschool group doing a field day. All we asked was, next time, follow the process. Rent the field, book the field, because what it does is Jim had guys out mowing that now have to mow around a group, and now the workload is different and changed, and don't know when we're going to get back to that section to come about it. We will try our best to get out to approach those groups and explain the process. I will say we have been able, since we switched the pavilion rental process from just a straight, you apply, you're approved, you pay, good to go, to a request. Emily and I and a couple others have access to read the answers to the questions and find out what the size and scope of what you're looking to do is. We actually have caught 2 daycares who wanted pavilion number 2 because they thought they were going to be able to take the whole daycare into the splash pad. And clarifying, hey, just because you as the pavilion renter may have a splash pad membership, your whole group does not get to go in. So as an example, that one pavilion, as we're seeing people rent it, we can ask that trigger question of, oh, were you expecting to use the splash pad as part of your pavilion rental? No, you can't. Well, I'll just let my whole party in. No, it's your household. We know you're going to try and do it. We're going to deny that request then. And we did it.
Probably have been like 20 kids, right? With them.
Probably more.
That's a lot.
And we had a daycare specifically that we've had communication with that no one here would have approved the daycare for a splash pad membership. It's not what it was built for, not what it was intended for. So if there's a group out and we can figure out who they are, we can have the conversation, because there are a lot of school groups that do it the right way.
So what's the process? So I've seen it, Lone Lane. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to go up there. I'm pretty sure sometimes it's not SPYA that's playing at Lone Lane. They just don't seem like it, but there's no way. Is there a way to tell? And I guess, how do you want to?
On the public side, it's probably hard to tell, but on our staff side, we do have, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, a booking report where what gets put into our system, I can see, Emily can see, Public Works gets a copy of it, looks like a calendar, and they know what group's supposed to be where. For example, this past weekend, Grange, we did have a National High School Ultimate Frisbee tournament that had booked the entire park, but a lacrosse group and a volleyball group tried to use one of the fields. You're not a permit holder. So we are actively trying to go around the lacrosse and volleyball community to figure out who that may be and why they felt they could just pop up and put some volleyball nets up, and hopefully get to a point of understanding the process and doing it the right way, because we need to know those things.
So during the week, it seems like it'd be a little bit easier because someone from Jim's crew can be able to spot it. But what about on the weekends?
I got to think about that one for a while. I don't have
Almost seems like we
a
need,
true answer yet.
Park ranger?
Oh.
A park ranger?
or the police department have access to who has permits for that park.
We are working with them for that same booking report that we with Public Works. So we have had those conversations with the chief, and we're figuring that out.
But again, as the daycare shows up at the park, nobody had booked a pavilion. I'm just giving you a scenario, and we say, okay, police comes and we say they can't kick them out because it's public park.
Mhm.
The same thing what the mobile truck was, like you can't kick them out because it's public park.
Well,
Can you kick them out because they don't have a permit to be there as a organized group?
passive part coming up.
No, I will delve deeper to make sure I don't say something wrong. So let me get back to you on that. Because again, if something's not reserved,
Yeah.
okay, but an organized group takes coordination and has grown bigger to it's not just a pavilion, it's a field, it's a bigger thing, which we require. So let me get back on that one and get a true answer. I don't want to misquote or anything right now.
Jim, thanks for bringing it up.
Maybe you could share if there's like an ordinance link or something like that
Yep.
that you could share with us by
Well,
email.
maybe what you could do is send that out to the daycares, kind of giving them a heads up that
Okay.
you
Good
can't,
suggestion.
you can't just think that you're gonna go to a public park, you know what I mean? That there's,
Is there a fine system for organized groups that do utilize the park without a permit?
I think.
I want to double check that. I don't have it memorized.
As a kid, you don't know the answer, but we're just
I
kinda,
don't, but no, these
brainstorming.
these are good notes to take
Right.
down.
At least have to let us know to come to the
Yeah.
park.
Well,
Well, that's
that's
the
right.
issue, because they show up, we got something going on.
right,
Like I said, it's already been booked, and they're in there.
right.
Yeah.
I think if you, like, I don't know, send something out to the local daycares, like,
Yep. Reminder.
yeah, reminder, because that way it doesn't like point fingers
Mhm.
at
We
that one. You know, there might be others that do it the right way.
we can definitely outreach to what we know.
Yeah,
Typically, those who are doing it that way,
yeah.
we probably don't know they
Probably
exist,
not licensed.
and
And,
or are we will work with our outreach efforts,
yeah,
but also keep in mind, the balance of the township is we have a growing township, but we are easily accessible to surrounding areas to come to our facilities.
right.
So we'll do what we can. They're good suggestions, and I'll make sure to loop back on the ordinance link, the outreach efforts, and get everything back to the board.
Another thought might be just simply signage that says, use of this
Oh, yeah.
facility without proper permits
Will
is
result in a,
will result in a fine and I don't know, some fancy way to say we're gonna kick you out of our park.
But again, silence doesn't have a value, we don't have an ordinance.
Right,
Well,
you
yeah,
have the
it's gonna-
ordinance,
yeah,
but the
it's-
signage is then the backup for the ordinance that says, hey, this is why we're throwing you out.
well, on the signage, you can put ordinance.
You can put a QR code
Yeah, yeah.
as well.
So again, that's the public part. My thinking is we need to be very careful making an ordinance because that's a public park, and we have to make sure that it's accessible for the families who have a more, suppose I have a big family of 30 or 40 people. People may think I'm a business, but I'm just a family person who will come in with the other families. So we have to be very, very careful making that. I think we need to draft that in a way that the use of public park by the businesses guidelines.
Exactly.
So once you say that use of public park, that means public park, if you're not a business, it's a public park, but when you're a business, it's not for your use. You know what I'm saying? Then we need to, so daycare is a business. Tomorrow it could be any company, maybe, I'm just giving you an example, don't quote me here, but bring 50 employees to the park. I'm just giving you an example, it could be anything.
They're actually a good one. They actually do rent the pavilions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I've had about 6 or 7 in the past 2
I'm
weeks.
just telling you that we have to make something very carefully drafted, saying that use of public park by the businesses, and this is what your guidelines are, this is your ordinance are. It doesn't matter which business you are, either a daycare or whatever.
Si-
Or
Similar to how we have the fee structure built out, that if Raj is he's renting the multi-purpose field for a family pickup game as a resident,
Yeah.
the fee is much lower than if we were to do it for Raj's expert pickleball lessons as a company. The fee structure is much different.
that we have to be really exact and then put a signage on. That's my thoughts, maybe.
The order of how we do it.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else?
I do have one thing. Mike Szynski is on. He's watching on YouTube, and he asked a question about the Sierra Club at Ricky Park. So to answer that question, on the record here, Jim and I did meet with the Sierra Club, Matt McConnell, up at Ricky Park to hear his concerns and thoughts regarding the wetland structure that is up there currently and some of the challenges that are occurring with that piece of the park, and also some of the effects or some other things he's noticed. We are taking it back for some ideas that he has and seeing what can and can't be done. The other thing with, again, large scale changes or massive changes to parks is we want to wait and see to get that final comprehensive park rec open space plan results of, examples of master plans, or if there's concepts or, timelines of what projects may or may not take, because then we as a group need to then prioritize those recommendations. So without committing to large scale things until we know that, but we've heard what he has to say about the wetland property, how they maintain it. I think he was actually at the movie. We wanted him to engage as the Sierra Club to educate those who came for the movie as to what the wetland was and why it's beneficial. So we're hearing what's being said, we're listening, and we're evaluating from there.
Awesome. All right. Anything else? All right. Lastly, I just want to thank Gwen for her time and her commitment. The township thanks you. We all thank you.
I'll check that.
She's not coming back.
I'll keep eyes on you.
We'll get you an application for the Park and Rec Board. Down there.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion? I'll make a motion to end the meeting. Can I get a second? Second. All those opposed? In favor? Aye. Hey. All right. Hey, real quick, guys, before we all leave.